Hello everybody, Science Viking here. Yeah, I know it's been a while since I uploaded anything. Real life stuff kinda happened. Anyway, I'm going at this... Actually, I need to change my equipment quick a second. I'm switching out my Ring of the Evil Eye for the Ring of Steel Protection. And yeah, I'm going at this in my chainmail with my Ring of Steel Protection and my Dark Moon Seance Ring. And I have my Hollow Soldier Shield instead of the Skull Lantern because I wanted to demonstrate how you would get through the Tomb of the Giants without the Skull Lantern, and since most people don't get the Skull Lantern until they're partway through the Tomb of the Giants, and that's definitely the reason, and it has nothing to do with the fact that I accidentally fed my Skull Lantern to Frampt. Let's begin. Anyway, so feel your way along here. Your character just kind of emits this aura of light for no real explicable reason. And you can also follow the Prism Stones, since the Prism Stones obviously have to be on the ground. Now, if you look carefully, next to where my helmet is, a little bit to the left of my helmet, are two glowing eyes. Those are the eyes of a giant skeleton. So since we know it's there, we're going to walk forward, repeatedly attempting to lock onto it until it lets us, and then slowly back up while launching another attack, and he's down. You're gonna kind of have to remember where the enemies are, but you can figure out where they are based upon their glowing eyes before you're actually within range of them. Alright. At the bottom of this, I'm going to be ambushed by a skeleton archer and two giant skeletons with swords at the same time, so I'm casting Iron Flesh and switching to my Fire Orb spell. Iron Flesh means you cannot dodge roll and cannot run, you just walk like this. But it means you have very high poise and a lot of defense. Oh, that must have been a critical hit. Alright. I'm just going to ignore the archer because I can't really reach him from where I am. And just kind of stroll along here until Iron Flesh wears off. Now, to your right as you go down is a humanity. So if you kind of point yourself to the right and slide down as hard to the right as you can, you will land on a platform with a humanity, but you'll also take a bit of damage. I've already gotten that humanity in an outtake, so I'm going to slide down the normal way, which will allow me to avoid taking damage. Now, this direction is the direction that takes us towards the next bonfire and towards the end of this area, but I'm going to go back here first to go grab my souls from a previous outtake. The stuff back here is not necessary to finish the game, so I'll come back for it later when I've got the Skull Lantern and I'm in general a bit more prepared. But I do feel like reclaiming my bloodstain if I can do that without dying. Recover lost power, and immediately turn and head the other way. Take a little bit of damage. Keep moving. Alright, and take a swig. And, if you look to your left, you can see there's a bonfire down there that we can light. However, need to be careful about the process of getting to it. Also, for those of you who don't want to go back there, if you turn around and turn left and walk towards this edge, you can see this bonfire. And, if you continue, there's a ladder. Climb down. Turn right. Smash this skull. And light this bonfire. Congratulations, we have our first bonfire in the Tomb of the Giants. In other words, immediately after sliding down the coffin, after being ambushed by giant skeletons, turn left and there will be a ladder that takes you to where there's a bonfire. What's more, we can warp to this bonfire here. So, I'm going to quick warp to Firelink Shrine, just to demonstrate. the giants. Yay, progress. I'm also going to level up a couple of times. I'm good for attunement for now. And I can only level up once, so I'm going to go with vitality. And confirm reinforcement. Well, before I proceed any farther, I'm going to quick start up a fresh recording file, so I'll be back in a moment. Okay. Now that we got a lovely fresh recording file, we're ready to proceed. So, feel our way along here. Climb up the ladder. There's still quite a bit of danger left. Having that bonfire is going to be nice, though. Alright. Feel our way to the wall. And talk to this guy.
Good day. You look reasonably sane. What are you doing in the catacombs? Are you a cleric or something?
No, I'm not a cleric.
No? Really? Then I'd have no qualms telling you. There's a fine stash of treasure right down that hole. I found it first, but, well, we're friends now, so I'll split it with you. In any case, have a look. It'll shimmer you blind.
Yep, right down this hole, where there's a prism stone. Ooh, shiny. You jerk! Yeah, if you look, he'll kick you off.
This is what I do, my friend. The trinkets I'll be stripping off your corpse, that's the real treasure.
You can quit it with the evil laugh now, jerk. Thing is, it's actually to our benefit to let him knock us down here. Because we find a large soul of a proud knight, a large soul of a proud knight, and a skull lantern. This is where you actually get the skull lantern normally. Let's equip it, because I'm tired of being blind. I'm not sure which direction it's in. Apparently I didn't accidentally feed my skull lantern to Frampt like I thought I did. Either way, I wanted to demonstrate getting the skull lantern without getting it from a necromancer. Let's look around here. Now that we can actually see a little better. First, let's head up here and grab this piece of treasure. White Titanite. That's good once we get the Large Divine Ember, which I'll show you how to get. And we need to deal with these things. Skeleton pillars. They're not that dangerous, they're completely immobile. Okay, they're mostly immobile. They're quite vulnerable to fire, so it's pretty easy to just hit them with a couple of fireballs or even just the combustion pyromancy. They are rather creepy looking, though. And they're dead. So it dropped. More White Titanite. Good for augmenting divine weapons. And now we have these guys. These are the clerics we encountered in Firelink Shrine. They are quite dangerous. Okay, one left. Go ahead and heal yourself. And now we talk to the person that they were guarding.
You banished those two hollows, did you? It pains me to think of the trouble my failings have caused. I am certain that both Vince and Nico are grateful to you. Thank you so very much. Here, These belonged to them. You deserve them more than I.
And we get the Replenishment Miracle. It's a good miracle, but this character doesn't really use miracles right. I thought I had my skull. I thought that was my skull lantern. Oh, whatever. Now, you see these blue orbs that light up along your path? These will actually guide you towards where you're supposed to go. These only appear if you have a skull lantern and are raising it up. There'll be more skeleton killers. Fortunately, we have a lot of pyromancy. In hindsight, I probably should have switched out Iron Flesh for combustion. Alright, keep feeling our way along here. Climb up. Of course, the downside to the Skull Lantern is that since it fills your shield slot, you can't block while you have the Skull Lantern equipped. And that's a fake wall. And we're back here. We're near where the Large Divine Ember is. However, I want to be at full power when I attempt to get the Large Divine Ember, so I'm going to quick head back to the bonfire first. Don't feel like using a Homeward Bone because I don't really need one. Alright. The next step in our journey is going to be to go get the Large Divine Ember. Because Nito himself has a couple of infinitely respawning skeletons, and he acts like the necromancer for them. So you want to be able to put them down permanently, because otherwise they'll be harassing you for the entire fight, which makes an already challenging fight a lot harder. However, to get to the Large Divine Ember, we need to get through a room teeming with giant skeletons. This is kind of difficult to pull off. The trick is you really do want to try and pelt them with pyromancies from up here, to at least thin them out a bit. Come on. Where is you? Did that even strike? Oops. You know what, I've tried this enough times and it hasn't worked. Let's try Plan B. Let me show you Plan B. You can see that you can jump across here. So, the first thing I want to do, actually, is take my arrow, take my bow, and if you look closely, you can very faintly see the silhouette of a skeleton in between us and that treasure. I want his attention to be on me, so I'm going to shoot him, make him angry, and make him come after me. Now, get my bearings, sprint and jump, and fail to jump, and dodge roll. Don't sprint, roll. And do that. And now, I am back at the bonfire, and I have the Large Divine Ember. Yep. I've tried actually killing those skeletons a couple of times before I finally realized that it was not really worth it at all to do that, because you can do what I just did. Now, let's warp back to the Undead Parish and deliver the Ember, I almost said Spark, to Andre.
What a brilliant ember you have there. I've only heard legends of such specimens. The embers used for the secret rites of divine blacksmiths. Perhaps you could lend it to me. I've long dreamed of forging divine weapons.
Yep.
Splendid. Thank you. Andre Pastora never disappoints. I assure you.
And modify equipment. And we now have this icon, which is basically Mega Divine. Don't have enough souls. Well,
I'll be seeing you then. Be careful out there.
let's go get some more souls. That should be plenty.
Well, hello again. You seem to be doing all right. Need anything forged?
Doing pretty well, actually. Collecting Lord Souls. And we get Divine Richard's Rapier plus 6, using a White Titanite chunk. And now I can reinforce it just like any other. And I may as well do it from this menu. And I can get it up to plus 8. That's pretty good.
Don't get yourself killed. Neither of us.
Now, the thing to remember about something that's been ascended a second time, I got it all the way up to plus 5 normal using only Titanite shards. And I got it all the way up to plus 5 divine using only green Titanite shards. However, so you'd expect, based upon that I would be able to get it up to plus 10 divine using only white Titanite chunks. That's not actually true, though. I can get it up to plus 9 using white Titanite chunks, and then I need 1 white Titanite slab to get it up to plus 10. There is, I believe, one white Titanite slab, maybe a couple that can be found, and then there are also... for each type of slab, there is an enemy type that has a very small, like less than 1% chance of dropping that type of slab. Now, there were 2 paths back there. One of them led to the Large Divine Ember, the other, I don't know where it led. Let's go find out. There will be some skeleton archers shooting at us, but they're not that hard to avoid. There will also be a giant skeleton up here. If that second fireball hadn't missed, that would have gone a bit better. Ow. Ow. Ow! Well, I'm dead. Alright, I'm back to where I was after that death. Got my souls back. Let's see if we can do this correctly. Of course, that's when I get hit by an arrow that's enough to break my poise. Okay, let's just retreat. Just a moment. There's the skeleton. I can lock onto him even though I didn't actually know where he was. Grab another swig. It's gonna be a while before I can actually reach the archers to do anything about them. And it's weird to remember that I can't dodge roll while holding up the lantern because it's considered to be a shield. Alright. So I used the bones as a shield earlier, now I use them now. Alright, let's climb up here. It's the problem, skeleton archers pelting you from far away where you can't easily get to where they are. That is how that is supposed to go. That was weird. Okay. That's better. Alright, so the skeleton's up here. Let's look around and see what we can find. To start with, Large Soul of a Proud Knight. Didn't think that was a hidden path. Climb up here. Hold up the skull lantern. Climb up here. That's almost certainly a bottomless pit. Now, before I proceed any farther, there are two treasures that can only be gotten by, that I noticed that I can only get by falling. I just almost fell in the way that I was supposed to fall to get them. So let's go grab that wonderful base jump treasure. And I regret nothing! Get some Eyes of Death. Not really that amazing, but I can feed them to Frampt. And feed them to my snake friend. And, this is going to be a bit harder to get to, but you may have noticed that there was treasure as we were climbing up. So if I drop very carefully into here, another Large Soul of a Proud Knight. Let's see if I can reach the ladder. I can't, so I'm going to have to just make a vertical drop and land here. You just kind of have to trust that there's ground down there. So far, this has actually turned out quite nicely. Just keep looking around. But, as you can probably kind of tell, the giant skeletons are a pain to fight. Oh, keep going up here. You may be wondering why I decided to do this area first, considering the trouble that I've been having. Well, because frankly, the others are worse. Okay, and now we're overlooking where we started. A Large Soul of a Proud Knight, and that was actually a pretty nice haul. For how short of a trip that was, we got plenty. Now, I don't feel like walking all the way back, so I'm going to Homeward Bound. And forget that the last place I rested was actually the Undead Parish and not the Tomb of the Giants. Well, either way, I can warp to the Tomb of the Giants bonfire. And now would be as good a time as any to start up a nice, fresh recording file. So, I'll be back in a moment. Okay, everybody, there's one last piece of loot that I want to get before we go take on Gravelord Nito. Ooh, a bloodstain. I wonder how this person died. Kind of figured it was something like that. I've died plenty of times that way. Alright. Climb up the ladder, follow the blue dots for a little while, ignore this jackass. Well, hey, he helped us. He got us the skull lantern. The blue dots will lead us towards the fight with Nito. This is a skeleton dog. Or a skeleton beast. You can call them either one. They're very dangerous. You can lock onto them while you're still far enough away that they won't aggro on you, but they have a lunge attack that will cover that distance instantly. So you really want to one-shot them, which is hard. Fortunately, Great Chaos Fireball can do it. There's also a Black Knight wandering around here, so I'm going to need to be careful about him. And a ledge that I almost walked off of. Alright, feel my way around here. On our left there will be another skeleton dog. There's also a skeleton archer, which I'm just going to ignore. He won't do very much damage. The way it works is that the direct damage from Great Chaos Fireball does the majority of the damage that it takes to kill the majority of the damage that it takes to kill a skeleton beast, and then the lava will finish the job. Also, you may be able to hear in the background a grandfather clock going off. Well, let's hope the bell doesn't toll for me. Okay. Now, after you've killed the skeleton archer, There will be a Soul of a Brave Warrior here. I picked it up in a previous take. Now, it appears that this is a bottomless pit. If we had a Prism Stone, we could drop it down to confirm that it isn't, but I don't have any, so you're just going to have to trust that this is not a bottomless pit. And as a favor to other players, I am going to quickly leave a message to indicate that that's not a bottomless pit using my Orange Guidance Soapstone. Right message. I'll just say here. That seems appropriate. Because the glowing orange will reveal that there's a surface down here for you to potentially land on. Now we want to work our way through here. Smash these bones. There shouldn't be any enemies up here. We want this. So the Covetous Silver Serpent Ring. And I'm kind of cornered, so I'm just going to let myself fall. Switch over to Great Chaos Fireball because I know that there is a skeleton dog nearby. There it is. You can kill them with regular fireballs, but it's a much larger risk. Because they won't one-shot it, and so I'd need to hit them multiple times. Of course, I'm nearly out of Great Chaos Fireballs. Not exactly sure what that is. Okay. Now I need to take on a skeleton beast without Great Chaos Fireballs because I've used up all of them. So first I'm going to cast Iron Flesh to give myself more health and, more importantly, more poise. Or more armor and more poise. And now hit it with 2 regular fireballs. And you see why you want to be able to one-shot them. They can cover the distance very fast, and if I hadn't had Iron Flesh active, that attack would have staggered me and knocked me out of my casting animation. Next thing I'm going to do is show off the Covetous Silver Serpent Ring. What's it do? Additional souls absorbed for each kill. Increases them by 20% specifically. I'm giving up my Ring of Steel Protection for that. The Covetous Silver Serpent Ring is actually one of the main reasons why I wanted to do this area before doing any of the other Lord Soul areas. Alright. Let's avoid fighting that thing if we can. Okay, keep feeling our way along here. Okay. Soul of a Brave Warrior, those are always nice. And... well, that was weird. In fact, I'm leaving that in. Yeah, that's one thing to remember about those guys, is that they will follow you for a really long distance. Switch back to my Estus Flask. And we're going to have to head back over there. He's still there. And we get 1,800 souls from these guys now. That's nice. Also, the Skull Lantern is considered to be a shield for purposes of damage reduction. Alright, now let's work our way down here. This is the route we would take if we weren't going after the Covetous Silver Serpent Ring. Feel our way along this narrow ledge and be ambushed by a Black Knight. Okay, keep retreating. Alright, up on the left. This is the, in my opinion, hardest Black Knight to deal with in the entire game, because you can't really properly see. Okay, dodge roll down into the pit again. He'll drop down to follow me. Oh, I didn't need that last great fireball. Get a White Titanite chunk, which I suppose is appropriate to the area. And the Black Knight is finally gone. Yeah, the trick is you want to retreat up here, then retreat back here, and lead him in a loop. Like with a lot of enemies, it's possible to get him to keep following you in a circle so that you can consistently get some distance from him to attack him. Let's feel our way along here to get another lovely piece of loot. And that is the effigy shield. Of course, now I might be dealing with skeleton beasts with no great chaos fireballs. Though if you look down in the left corner, right under my Estus flask, you will see the lovely sight of a bonfire. So it'll be down and to the left. First step is to deal with this skeleton beast, which can be done with regular fireballs, because he can't reach me. Okay, there he is. And he did exactly what I have been doing to my enemies for a while now. Killing me. Should have retreated back to the bonfire to get more great chaos fireballs. Oh. That was weird. I thought I switched to my lantern. Okay. Keep feeling our way along here. Yeah, you wonder why people don't like the skeleton beasts, because they tend to do that. And because if you're me, you tend to forget that they're there. Oh, that one's dead. If I were to upgrade my Pyromancy Catalyst 1 or 2 more times, I'd be able to one-shot it with regular Great Fireballs, rather than needing Great Chaos Fireballs. Yeah, there is a skeleton beast over there, but I can avoid fighting it. The way these guys work, basically, is it takes quite a bit to actually get them to come after you, but once they're after you, they'll follow you forever. So the trick is that you want to make the attack that gets their attention on you in the first place also be the attack that kills them. That's why Great Chaos Fire... This is one of the reasons why I'm a member of the Chaos Servant Covenant, is because of how useful Great Chaos Fireball is in dealing with these guys. Okay, there's a regular giant skeleton with a sword over here. I guess he came to bring not peace, but a sword. Okay. Now we head back here. And there's a bonfire. And I'm actually going to expend a couple of humanity. I need to go back and farm more. I'm starting to run a little low. Because I want to kindle this bonfire, because this is the bonfire that I use as my base of operations for my assault on Nito. First hollowing. kindle. Alright, now I'm going to start up a fresh recording file, and I'll be back in a moment. Alright, now we are ready to finally take on Gravelord Nito. Of course, the skeleton beast is back, but there should only be one. Actually, there's one thing I want to change quick a second, which is... I'm dropping Iron Flesh and replacing it with Combustion. Well, let's make that Great Combustion. It should still get enough uses. There's a reason for that. At first, got my light up, following the blue orbs, which lead you to various useful things. Alright. I may not have needed to kill that one. But now we can conveniently follow these glowing blue orbs all the way to Nito. Obviously, we're still going to be attacked by monsters. There are quite a few more skeleton beasts there, but we only really have to kill that one to avoid... Sorry, I just had a moment of vertigo there. We only really need to kill that one to avoid getting their attention. And now we're getting to the point where there's a small amount of natural light. Climb down here. They're also generally pretty nice about not having anything ambush you right at the bottom of a ladder. Alright, now I want Great Combustion ready. Because the majority of the enemies I'm going to be dealing with for a while will be skeleton towers. And I don't even need a light source anymore. Not sure what this is overlooking, but it looks like it's overlooking either Deeproot Garden or... Ah, Paladin Leroy. That's an NPC, so I'm just going to quick kill him. There he is. One more. I am not impressed. Gave us quite a bit of humanity. Yep, and that's where the boss is. So let's first check here. And it appears that there genuinely is nothing on the other end of that. However, I don't want to waste the very large number of souls I just got, especially since I killed a invading spirit with the Covetous Silver Serpent Ring equipped. So I'm going to go quick get some upgrades, and I'll be back here in a moment. Okay, everyone. I have completed the last bit of my preparation. Oh, that's a crystal bug. I should probably try to kill that. Ooh, Twinkling Titanite. And more White Titanite chunks. That's the wrong button. Alright. And, first of all, you may notice my Pyromancy flame looks a bit different. It's because I ascended it. I swung by where I had reached the point where I'd upgraded it as much as I could normally, so I went to Blighttown and talked to Quilana, and she can ascend a Pyromancy flame. Okay, let's not melee those guys in the future. I'm actually going to use a Humanity. I have a decent number of them, and because it increases the damage of my sword. I also bought a second copy of Fire Orb from Quilana. So now I have Fireball and Fire Orb attuned twice, along with Great Fireball and Great Chaos Fireball, each attuned once, because I only have one copy of those. I also had forgotten to switch to my Hollow Soldier Shield now that I no longer need the Skull Lantern. I'm going to stick to using Humanities to heal myself for a while. Alright. Come on, little skull tower. Or? And for this one, I'll actually take a swig. And now I can go back to enjoying my wonderful 100% physical shield. Until that happens. Okay, gonna want to fall back. I want to fight these guys one at a time as much as I can. In case you're wondering why I'm not spending the large number of souls I have now, it's because these are the souls I got just from fighting my way to this area while equipped with the Covetous Silver Serpent Ring. There's also a trick I'm going to show after the boss fight, which is that if you switch, there's enough, you know, there's a delay between killing the boss and actually receiving the souls for defeating the boss. That delay is long enough to allow you to switch to the Covetous Silver Serpent Ring. And now we meet these guys. These guys are called Pinwheel Servants. They're like copies of Pinwheel. The only difference is that they do not have the ability to make additional copies. Otherwise, they're basically the same. You really want to pick them off with a bow from a distance. These guys drop White Titanite chunks very often, and are also the only enemy in the game that has a chance to drop a White Titanite Slab. Ah, skeleton babies. These are one of the enemies that, like the undead rats, have a chance of dropping humanities. Ow. Okay, I'm going to use that pillar as cover. Some people like to farm humanities off of the skeleton babies. I don't, because for whatever reason the humanity item disappears a short time after it's dropped, if it's dropped by one of these guys. So in my opinion, there are better enemies to farm humanity off of. Anyway, I'm just going to snipe the Pinwheel Servants to death. Apparently, this implies that Pinwheel had the ability to create permanent clones, and he left the permanent clones here guarding Nito for whatever reason. Apparently he and Nito had a fight at some point. Because his clones in the boss fight are a lot more fragile than this. But yeah, he has... their attack appears to be the same as Pinwheel's attack. And they... I believe they have the ability to teleport, but they don't do it very often. But they do not have the ability to make additional copies of themselves. They're just pretty much normal enemies. If you want to maximally upgrade, if you want to upgrade divine equipment, these are a good group of guys to do it. These are the guys you want to farm to do it. Just equip the covetous gold serpent ring that we got in Sen's Fortress. We do not want to fall in the water. I'm going to quick demonstrate why. Let's kill this thing again. Because skeleton babies arise in your footprints whenever you walk into the water. Fortunately, like most skeleton-type enemies, they're very vulnerable to fire. And I got a humanity from them. They will continue to appear infinitely as long as part of your body is touching the water. That's one of the reasons why you want to make sure and wipe out the Pinwheel Servants before you try and travel through there. Right. Soul of a hero. I'll use the humanity I just found to heal myself. I am risking a decently large amount of humanity, but the boost to the damage of Quelaag's Fury Sword does make that a bit more worthwhile. The trick with the Pinwheel Servants, as you're seeing, is that it's pretty easy to get into a situation where, because their projectile is a lot wider than mine, they cannot shoot past the pillars, but I can. They also are pretty fragile. If I were in melee combat with them, I could easily overwhelm them, but their aim is a lot better than you think it is, other than that they can't account for that one issue. Now, if we pass over here, we can drop down without stepping in the water, but we can't go back the same way. Gotten rid of at least most of the Pinwheel Servants. Alright, I want my Quelaag's Fury Sword. Yep, one of them dropped a White Titanite chunk. Out of the water, out of the water, out of the water, out of the water. Estus. Yeah. The skeleton babies cause toxin buildup, just like the guys shooting poison darts. Fortunately, I have some blooming purple moss clumps. Also, their toxin does considerably less damage than the toxin caused by... Going through quite a bit of humanity today. Well, I'll swing by the depths and farm up some more before the next part. Their toxin does considerably more damage than... Considerably less damage, sorry, than the toxin caused by the poison dart guys. Get another soul of a hero. There's one last piece of loot that we can get. Drop down here. We're not in the water. If we were to go back there, we would end up in the water. Grab this piece of loot. White Titanite Slab, which can be used to maximally upgrade a Divine Ascended weapon. Okay. And just run past there. Okay. I want that last piece of loot. It's probably not something terribly impressive, but before I get it... Oh, I forgot I had the Rusted Iron Ring equipped. I'm going to equip the Ring of the Evil Eye. So that I can use these enemies that spawn in great numbers to fully restore my health. In the water. Retreat up to here. We want to... Because they're so short, it's easy for your swing to go over them. The trick is that if possible, you want to fight them on level ground. Like that. And conveniently, they'll come up here slowly, one at a time. Alright. Close enough. And you know, let's just use another humanity. They're easy enough to farm. It's times like this that I do kind of wish that I could have life gems, like you can get in Dark Souls 2. That are... you can get an extra of them, and they heal you. Alright, I'm not planning on using my bow against Nito, really at all. So... I'm going to replace my bow with my Divine Richard's Rapier. Because Nito has some skeleton minions. First smash these, switch over to Richard's Rapier, and they're invincible. And traverse the white light. And there's no way to avoid that vertical drop. And cue cutscene. Sorry I didn't join your covenant, Nito, but it's time to die. Though it would be kind of awkward if I was in his covenant and I killed him anyway. And as I said at the beginning, I'd love it if somebody could tell me, maybe in the comment section, what is this guy? Because, like I said, as we've seen, there's nothing in the lore that really explains how a skeleton made out of other skeletons that has sentience could develop. Alright, one last humanity. I do not like that ability. There is a trick to avoiding that ability, which is it's telegraphed if you're looking at Nito. Screw that. Sprint. Leap! Can't see myself, that's annoying. Drink. Die. Well, that was anticlimactic. I'll be back with another attempt. Okay, before I get back to taking on Gravelord Nito, there's just a quick extra thing I want to do. I have kindled this bonfire. You'll also notice I have 10 humanity. I was farming for humanity in the depths, and the 10 that I have are because that increases my... that I have active are because that increases my item drop rating. Anyway, first I'm going to reverse my hollowing. And now, I've already kindled this bonfire, so I get 10 uses of my Estus Flask. Let's kindle it again. And now I have 15. And again. And now I have 20. Because this... But you may remember, in an earlier part, I accidentally tried to do that and it wouldn't let me. Because before, I didn't have the right of kindling. Now that I have the right of kindling, I can kindle a bonfire higher and get more Estus uses of it. And frankly, I'm going to need them in order to take on Nito. Anyway, that's all for now. I'll be back from your perspective in a moment with my final attempt to take on Gravelord Nito. So, back in a second. Okay, I am human and have 7 humanity because of my previous humanity farming trip, and I have 18 uses of my Estus Flask. I had to use up 2 of them in the process of getting here. I may wind up using more. That's the wrong button. That's amusing. Screw it, I don't actually need my ass. I'll find the right button eventually! Alright. Apparently they spawn slowly even if you never touch the water, because I never actually touched the water. Anyway, I'm just gonna head through here. Got my Estus. Got my Divine Sword. Got my Hollow Soldier Shield. I wish there was a better way to avoid the damage, but I don't have the fall control spell. Got my boss intro cutscene. This, like the Gaping Dragon, is one of the ones that plays every time. Of course, now you wake up. When I was considering joining your covenant, you wouldn't. It's like, in order to get you to talk to me at all, Nito, I have to try to kill you. Seriously. What's a guy gotta do to get some attention from his Gravelord around here? Alright. There are a group of respawning skeletons, which I want to find without getting the attention of the Gravelord himself. That's one down. There are also a group of respawning giant skeletons, but you can avoid ever getting their attention. Right. Okay. Crap. Alright. Skeletons are down, and for me, Quelaag's Fury Sword will do better damage than the Rapier, even though the Divine Auxiliary effect does actually cause attacks to do more damage to Nito. Alright, to deal with that attack, you just want to back away. He has one attack that has extremely long range, which is that. That attack, where he plunges his weapon into the ground, it will rise up beneath you no matter where you are or how far you are away from it. You avoid the attack by keeping your eyes pointed at Nito at all times. Okay, that's all my Great Chaos Fireballs. Now for my regular Great Fireballs. I should have enough Pyromancy to take him down without having to resort to physical at all. The skeletons always were the real problem. The trick that I eventually figured out is that you want to stand your ground right where you land. Yeah, I brought some Great Combustion to deal with the skeleton pillars on the way here. I still haven't managed to avoid that attack, though. Okay, looks like he's not down. Oh, he's down! Like I said, if you manage to defeat the regular infinitely respawning skeletons, The rest is relatively straightforward. The trick is, you stay in the place where you have a divine weapon equipped. You stay in the place where you land and you kill the skeletons. They're not really any tougher than the ones in the catacombs, or at least they're not much tougher. It's easy to panic because Nito is there and will slowly advance towards you. But you have to stay calm and be patient. Once you've done that, Nito is pretty easy to take out by keeping your distance and just hitting with Pyromancy. And I didn't expect to succeed that well. Now, every Lord Soul exists at a dead end. So this is the first Lord Soul we've gotten, so I'm going to show off how that actually works. So, I'm going to go to my items. And see if it's in here. It shouldn't, I don't think, yeah, it's not part of this. Yeah, it's under the key items. I cannot use this for anything. Like, I can't use this to gain regular souls, and it does not... You never receive a boss soul from Lord Soul bosses. You just receive a regular soul. You just receive your regular souls. In this case, I got 60,000 souls from Nito. But you don't receive a boss soul that can be used to make a boss weapon. Now, another thing to notice, you see the remains of giant skeletons, because in this area, there are several giant skeletons that are infinitely respawning just like Nito's regular skeletons. If you trigger them, you're in serious trouble. Also, you may have noticed, because I got about 20,000 souls from all of these guys before I got the souls from Nito himself. I thought that those 20,000 souls were the souls you get from Nito at first. That's because all of the skeletons in the room that are still standing will immediately die when you kill Nito. But you really do want to have a divine weapon to deal with them, and you can deal with the giant skeletons by not letting yourself get too close to here, because they won't come after you unless you get close to it. So, yeah. Nito, you saw how this went, and in all of the outtakes, you'll see that I either died before the 3 respawning skeletons went down, or the one time I managed to take all of the skeletons out, I won. Because Nito himself really isn't that tough. The biggest problem with this fight is that it's easy to panic. Now, remember, each Lord Soul happens at kind of a dead end, and in fact, actually first let's grab this. Oh, Paladin armor. Now, you see, I dropped down a hole to get here, so how do I get out? And, well, sharp-eyed viewers will have already noticed there's a bonfire here. There is a bonfire next to every Lord Soul boss, including Nito. So after you receive a Lord Soul, you can light this bonfire. You can rest at it, and do all the normal bonfire stuff. So I'm going to head back to Firelink Shrine. It's a good base of operations. And I can even warp back to the altar of the Gravelord. Alright, that's the end for this part. I'm gonna spend these extra souls probably on upgrading my Pyromancy Flame, because why would I do anything else with souls ever? And I'll probably spend the leftover souls on leveling up. And after that I'll be back, and for the next part I'm going to be going after Sif the Great Grey Wolf. Be sure to tune in. In the meantime, I love you all. See you next time. So that they hit the skeletons without you falling down, but it is possible. However, I'm impatient, and that fall was actually mostly accidental. And that'll be an outtake. Back in a second. And that'll be an outtake. Back in a moment. Their aggro radius, fortunately, is large! And that's the the enemy I was talking about. Okay, I need some Estus and a change of pants. Whoa! Guess there's more than one. Okay. Yep, yeah, this is what they are. That's going to be an outtake. For these guys. And I'm dead. That's a Black Knight. Regular great friends. In case you're wondering why I decided to move towards the Black Knight, it's because there was a bottomless pit behind me. To see the reason why I brought so much pyromancy. And that's an outtake. Well, I made it farther this time. That's a second skeleton dog. It's dead now. And so am I. Well, that'll be an outtake. First one is already right here. Grr. Wonder what's back here. Whoa! That. And a bottomless pit. Oh, that's an outtake.